ఇది మ్యూట్ చేసిరా ఒకసారి దొరుకుతుంది ఒకసారి దొరకదు.
Okay, it's still 11:59. We'll wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll begin. Does anyone has any general question before we start? Okay. Girish Prabhu, you are doing well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We're just waiting for a minute because I joined early.
Okay. So when are you plan to come to Grand Rapids?
I don't know, Prabhu. Probably I saw that the cases are increasing, so I thought of delaying some more time.
You used to come here every weekend, every Saturday?
Yeah, for 10 years I'm coming.
Okay.
Well, I was working in Grand Rapids, Prabhu. I worked there.
Which company?
Gentex.
Oh, Gentex. I'm here for 25 years.
In Grand Rapids? Oh.
My friends left me to Dallas. The snow is one of the snowiest places in the world.
Yeah.
The lake. So all my friends are gone.
Go ahead.
They all went to Texas.
I was there 2011 to 2014.
Okay.
And then I continued going there every week from 2014 till date.
You love the snow.
Well, I don't have a choice. Okay. Amol Prabhu, you are doing well?
Yeah.
You are in Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So let us begin now. 3 doers. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वर। Okay. Today's discussion usually many times get lot of questions. I would encourage devotees not to hesitate and ask. Many times many question arises, but if you understand, that's very good. That's great. So we are continuing on the 5th chapter, and acronym for this chapter is STEP. S stands for stay in this word. In other words, direct our activities for the pleasure of the Lord. No need to renounce. And we saw Arjuna ask this question: should I renounce karma sannyas, or um, should I do bhakti karma or work in devotion? What is preferable? And Krishna says, well, both are good for liberation, because the principle is the same, that whether you renounce work or whether you work in devotion, the work won't bind, because it's akarma, so there is no reaction. But because we have a particular nature, it's better to work according to our nature and somehow bring Krishna in the center of that work. So that is called work in devotion. And then Krishna explains why he is telling that, and he says work in devotion is better because um, it is work in devotion is joyfully performed. Um, um, one becomes dear to everyone. Everyone becomes dear to him. Um, um, can one can attain the supreme Lord without delay. The Lord is pleased and can be approached only through devotion. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. So various advantages Krishna describes about working in devotion. So stay where you are and try to direct everything, bringing Krishna in the center. Now, it may not be possible, as we discussed last week, because one needs to develop affection for the Lord in order to be conscious of Him. Uh, just like a mother, when she has love for the child, uh, she is very conscious of the child all the time. Whether she is cooking or cleaning or traveling or going out, she is conscious of the child, and yeah, because she has love for the child. So as we advance in Krishna consciousness, we will become conscious of Krishna in everything we are doing, just like a mother and a child. But that's a state of consciousness that can be achieved in future. At our stage, at this point of time, we render devotional service. We hear about the Lord, we read Bhagavad Gita, we chant the holy names, and that help us to purify our heart and develop our attraction towards the Lord. There is so much emphasis on devotional service because through seva, through service, one develops relationship. We have discussed in the past. I may be repeating, but it's important. When
Prabhuji, Prabhuji.
Mataji,
Yeah, I have one request, Prabhuji. Like some devotees, like they are not able to join. It's asking passcode. So, do you know passcode, Prabhuji, or do I have to contact?
well, yeah, I should be able to give you. Okay. Shirisha Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
53
One second, Prabhuji. Um, 53
7252.
7252.
So can I continue?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. If it doesn't work, let me know.
Yeah, Mataji joined, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay.
Now thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So we are emphasizing so much on seva, devotional service, because it is through service one develops relationship. Um, Service is a means to express our love. Um, we may not have love for the Lord, but service is a means to express our eagerness that I want to love. I want it. Just like I may have shared this before, especially in an arranged marriage, the husband the husband wife in an arranged marriage, they have almost no relationship um, with each other. um, but just because they try to please the other person, that intention of pleasing the other person attracts their heart. And through more and more seva means we do things that the other person likes. Otherwise, it's not a seva. For example, if somebody likes a particular sweet and we make a salty item which he doesn't like, then we spend our time, energy, effort, skills, resources, but we did not please the person. So seva is fruitful only when we do things that pleases the person. And what pleases the Lord is glorifying the Lord. Just like, see, Lord is a person. Just like if I say, if I glorify anyone like Girish Prabhu, Amol Prabhu, Soumya Mataji, if I glorify that you all are very wonderful devotees of the Lord, now immediately you will feel some happiness. Or if I just take the name of you, you will immediately look, why is Prabhuji calling, taking my name? What he is trying to say. So glorification um, is a means to please the Lord. That's why it's considered the highest form of service, uh, because it is pleasing to the Lord. Now, what is pleasing to the Lord may be pleasing to us, may not be pleasing to us at this point of time. At this point of time. Um, but nonetheless it will help us develop a relationship. And because it is Krishna, and Krishna is transcendental, and his glories, his names, his activities, his words are transcendental, and we are transcendental, by repeating his words, his names, and other activities of his, we become very peaceful and joyful and happy, because we have a eternal relationship with the Lord, and we are starting to revive that relationship. So that is called devotional service, and that's a means to reawaken our love, our relationship. And once we reawaken that relationship, everything that we are discussing will become natural for us. We don't have to try to do those things, it will be natural. We will now we may say, well, offer the food for Krishna. We should offer, but Krishna really eats the food that is, Krishna does not eat food. Krishna eats the love with which the food is cooked. uh, um, so naturally, as we advance, the whole application of Bhagavad Gita becomes natural for us. Okay. So now we are coming to our next topic for today, which is three doers. Now we know and we understand, everything that I want doesn't happen. Things are not in our control. So there is somebody else involved other than me myself. I want a particular job. I may want to become president of America, which I don't want to become, but I may want to become. So all that I want doesn't happen. So there are more than one doer. So there are three doers. Um, to complete any activity, three parties are involved. One is the individual soul. Um, One is the material nature, and one is the supreme soul. So they are described in the three verses 13, 14, and 15. So this is just a summary. So these are the three doers: the soul, the super soul, and material nature. Now think about it. The soul is sitting in the region of the heart. Um, the soul is completely helpless. The soul is, it is described in Hatha Yoga that the soul is lying in between the four kinds of airs, pran, udan, vyan. So there are different airs in the body, and the soul is floating in that air. So very subtle, and it is described in Upanishad that for the size of the soul is 1/10,000 tip of a hair. So you take a hair tip, it is microscopic, I don't know, it's very very thin, and break it into 10,000 pieces, and that much is like even nanoscope cannot um, um, see the soul. So the soul is so tiny, it's in the region of the heart. So soul cannot do any activity actually, and soul is completely spiritual. Soul does not deal with matter. For example, I lifted my hand. Actually, the soul didn't lift the hand. When I say I lifted my hand, um, 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 there are three doers involved in lifting my hand. One is the soul. The only thing that soul can do is desire. That's all. Soul is completely helpless to do anything other than desire. Um, Now, Paramatma is sitting in the heart of the soul, the super soul. Um, um, we did discuss in our last week discussion, I believe, or maybe last week discussion. Last week discussion, that there are two. The example is given like two parrots sitting on a same tree, the soul and super soul. One parrot is trying to taste the fruits, sometimes bitter and sometimes sweet, and other parrot is just witnessing. Likewise, we are desiring so many things, and the Lord is sitting in our heart, and Lord is just witnessing our desires. Based on our karma, He sanctions some desires. So this is the another doer, which is the super soul. So the soul desires, the super soul sanctions or rejects. If the super soul rejects, that desire doesn't get fulfilled. If the super soul sanctions, then material nature works under direction of super soul. Maya adakshina prakriti suviti sa characharam hetu nanena kauntaya jagat viparivartate. So adhyaksh means superintendent. Maya adhyakshina prakriti. So Krishna, prakriti or material nature is Maya adhyaksh. Maya is my. Maya Adhyaksh. I am the Adhyaksh of Prakriti. Prakriti is material nature. So, material nature works under direction of the super soul. So, super soul tells the material nature that you lift the hand, and material nature lift the hand, because the soul is just teeny in the region of the heart. 10 to the power minus 4 tip of the hair. It desires. Super soul sanctions. Super soul also is Paramatma. Um, um, it is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Super Soul. More discussion on Paramatma will come in future chapters. Detailed understanding of Paramatma is going to come. But for now, we can understand it's a particle of God, just like in simple words. It's the God Himself who is sitting in our heart, Super Soul. He's completely spiritual. He also does not deal with matter. The soul is completely spiritual. Soul does not deal with matter. So, who deals with matter? The matter deals with matter. What is the body made up of? Body is made up of matter, Panchabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether. So it is the material nature who works. All material activities. If I'm walking, if I'm speaking, um, in all these things, um, now, this is very technical. That's why I said it may be little difficult to understand. But when I say I am speaking, um, uh, it's actually the the soul is only desiring. The soul is not speaking. Who I really is not really speaking, but I am desiring to speak certain things in a certain way, in a certain expressions with certain emotions. The Lord is sanctioning it, and material nature is making the body work. Now, seems complex, but that's what is happening. That's how there is an integration between the soul and the body, and our interaction with the material world. In fact, uh, in in one of the verses, uh, okay, I think, okay. Anyways, in one of the verses it says, in Bhagavad Gita, that whether walking or talking or evacuating or doing anything, we do nothing at all, because we know that the soul is aloof from the activities of the body. The soul is sitting in the heart of the body. So we do nothing at all, but is the material nature who actually makes all these three arrangements. Okay, now um, if I rob a bank, uh, then am I responsible or is Krishna responsible? Because I cannot rob a bank, I can only desire. Uh, Krishna sanctioned me to rob a bank, and then the material nature helped me to perform material activities that can help in robbing a bank. So, is God responsible for the wrong things I did? Did he rob a bank? Because he's involved in, he's one of the doer who is involved in making things happen. And that Krishna answers here, and this is in the 15th chapter. Krishna says, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone sinful or pious activities. So Krishna says the Lord is not responsible. I am not responsible for anyone's sinful or pious activity. Um, Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covered their real knowledge. It sounds little complex, but try to understand. Um, let's speak something about desire. Uh, Desire comes out of free will. We have a free will. With our free will, we can desire anything. For example, there are some devotees in the room today. We have a free will to come and discuss Bhagavad Gita together, or um, uh, do something else. We have the free will. Um, um, to, to the extent we are entangled in this world, to that extent our free will is less. To the extent we become pure, to that extent our free will expands. Just for example, when a young boy sees a young girl, he will automatically be attracted, and he may want to talk to him or her. He or she may want to talk to him or her. Um, Now, that particular living entity who wants to talk to another living entity, they develop a desire. They develop a desire out of their free will, but the free will is really not much there because they are entangled. They are entangled with material conception of the body. They are okay. Everyone, okay. So the free will is very less if we are entangled. Now, um, we are reading Bhagavad Gita, we are reading scriptures, we are getting to know what is right thing to do, what is wrong thing to do, and still we may, even after knowing this is a wrong thing to do, I may still end up in doing that. And that is because um, conditioning. I'm conditioned to enjoy in that particular way. So although I have free will to not enjoy like that, because it is not good to enjoy like that, it is sinful to enjoy like that, but I still want to enjoy like that because um, I still desire to do that, and I use my free will to do the wrong thing even though I know it's a wrong thing to do. And that shows that our free will is very limited. Even though I know what is right and what is wrong, I may still be pulled toward the wrong thing just because the free will is minimized because of entanglement, because of attachment, because of our swabhav, our tendencies. Now, um, whatever I have done in the past, suppose if I have gone towards to up to watch movies every day, and if the mind has derived lot of pleasure from watching movies, then today if I know that this movie contains talks about illicit sex and violence, both are sinful, I don't want to watch these kind of movies. um, but still, because there is a swabhav is tendencies. The tendencies have developed from deriving pleasure from similar activities in the past. So there are impressions in the mind. That impressions tells this will be fun, let's go there, let's do this or let's do that. You will be happy by doing that. So those inclinations are there, those swabhav, those tendencies are there. um, um, and that's why we are desiring in that particular way. So the free will is really minimized to just repeating the previous pleasurable experiences. The free will is actually minimized. But to the extent we start becoming pure, to that extent we can actually do what is favorable for my spiritual life. And I can refrain from doing what is unfavorable. Um, I can actually use my free will as I start becoming pure. So my swabhav or tendencies from my past sinful activities is because of ignorance. Now, ignorance is I don't know what, like, see, now we are pleasure seekers. Anandamayo Bhyasat. We are always looking for pleasure. Um, but because we are identifying ourselves with the body, we are seeking for pleasure at the level of body. Uh, if I have free time, then I may want to do certain activity that may excite my mind, or my sense of hearing, my sense of touch, my sense of eyes, my sense of tongue through tasting something that should not be tasted. So, um, um, so I'm trying to derive pleasure based on the understanding that I am this body. If I understand that I am spirit soul, then I will derive pleasure from spiritual places. But this identification with the body is called ignorance. Because the living entity, because of the ignorance of the living entity engages into sinful activities. Um, um, and because the living entity desires a sinful activity, which is because of ignorance, the living entity is responsible for the good or bad reaction that is going to come to him. The super soul simply sanctions. Super soul sanctions. Super soul is neutral. Uh, if I want to rob a bank, the Lord may sanction, I may rob a bank, But the Lord is not responsible for any good or bad. It's my responsibility because I desired like that. Okay, now let us see if there are some discussions, some questions. Based on that, we proceed. Please be open to ask so that we can go deeper in this topic.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Soumya Mataji. I have a question like if some person is having some particular tendency, also he or she can overcome that as well, right? Or
Yes, he or she can overcome. He or she needs strength to overcome. That strength for a spiritualist comes from um, 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 comes from their spiritual practice. They get the strength to overcome. For others, they can just control their mind and not engage in those activities. And if they do that, then they are avoiding entanglement in karma by doing that. Did I answer your question?
yes, Prabhuji.
Do you have a follow-up question?
No.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, okay, all right, very good. So the summary is there are three doers: the jiva, we who desire, Paramatma sanctions, material nature facilitates, our desire is based on our swabhav, our tendencies, our previous impressions.
Prabhuji,
The Sirisha
um,
Mataji.
if that realization is not spiritual, it entangles, like how that entangles. Can you please explain?
Can you repeat your question?
The realization not to do mistake is, the realization is not spiritual.
Okay,
It entangles with some of the knowledge. If we are realizing that not to do,
okay.
it entangles, like how that entangles us.
Well, if you don't, if we have knowledge and if we don't do the wrong things, it's not going to entangle us. But we will do something else. Whatever we are doing, it will be material by nature if it is not spiritual. And any material activity is entangling. We discussed we have only three options: either we are doing good karma, or we are doing bad karma, or we are doing akarma. Both good karma, bad karma binds, and akarma does not have a reaction and it liberates. So a living entity, no matter what he or she is doing, if he is not practicing a spiritual path, it's by default karma bandhana, good or bad. Does it help?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So I think,
Prabhuji, I got a question.
yes, Girish Prabhu.
If a person desires to rob a bank, he needs approval from the Paramatma.
Mhm.
Why can't he reject that approval?
Well,
Because it's
Prabhu,
sin. It's a sin. So because he is a second doer
yeah,
in this action,
yeah,
and without his approval, nothing gets done.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. So Prabhu, that's true. At the same time, the principle of karma is both sided. There is um, um, a bad karma for the bank, maybe the wrong means they have used, or how the bank started, or the owner, that they have a bad karma that they have to go through this suffering. So it's one's one's desire and someone's bad karma together results in suffering. So if somebody is suffering, then one should not say because of that person's wrong desire I am suffering, but one says that it's my own previous bad karma that is coming back to me in the form of this particular instrument. At the same time, that instrument also has a desire. So although that instrument, that person, whoever is bringing me suffering, I am suffering because of my own bad karma, that person is creating a new bad karma for himself by desiring like that. So this karma principle is very intricate in that way. Does that help, Girish Prabhu?
Okay. Okay, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Girish Prabhu. Any other question? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Um, okay, so here is something I'm going to read. So, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, why is he bewildered? He wants to enjoy at the level of body. He has certain desires based on certain previous impressions, and he want to do it. So he is bewildered in his desire because of material conception of life. The Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the action reaction for the particular situation that may be desired. Whatever comes by it, action reaction, it's not Lord's responsibility. And very good question by Girish Prabhu. We addressed that aspect. Then Srila Prabhupada continues to say in Bhagavad Gita, desire is a subtle form of conditioning of a living entity. We are conditioned to desire in a certain way. Um, the Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Not every desire is sanctioned, but if the person has, like, I may desire to get this particular kind of job, but if I don't have sufficient good karma, I will not get it. So the Lord fulfills the desire as he deserves. Man proposes, God disposes. So man is proposing, this is what I want to do, and God is sanctioning. All right, you do it or reject. No, you cannot do it. Um, when now, how this helps is, usually we don't see things from this perspective, and we think, if I did something, then it is my greatness, my intelligence, because I read these things in the interview, that's why good thing happening, somehow it's my fortune. So one don't see that there is sanction of the Lord, and by my own karma I was supposed to get it. And the other way also true, that I'm going through this bad time because of my own karma. Otherwise, if we don't see my own karma, then we will try to blame somebody else for our suffering. So man proposes and God disposes. The individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The individual cannot fulfill all their desires. They are not omnipotent. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to anyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute independent living entities. So some people may say, if God is there, why so much suffering? If He is sanctioning, why so many things here and there are going on? And the answer is, the Lord, Super Soul, does not interfere. If they interfere, if the Lord interfere, then there is no such word as free will. Then we become robots. We do whatever, like machines, just like this washing machine. It's a robot. You turn it on, you switch press on, it starts running. So doesn't have free will. So we become like that. When we have free will, means we can choose good or bad. Um, 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 So the Lord does not interfere with the desire of the minute independent living entity. Lord doesn't interfere. Now somebody may say, well, it's good to not have free will. It's good to be like machine. But then there is no fun. There is no fun there. For example, um, um, if you if a child goes to Walmart and he starts crying Father, I want a chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Give me $2. And you give him $2. And the child goes and buys the chocolate, a pack of chocolate. It has like 4 or 5 chocolates, and he comes to you. Father, this is for you. Mother, this is for you. And sister, this is for you. And brother, this is for you. You gave us all the four. What about you? Um, no, this I got it for all of you. Or maybe he keeps one for himself. Still the father and mother and sister and brother are very happy. Why? Because the child used his free will to express his love for the father, mother, and the family. But if it's a machine, like a vending machine, and you put $2 and you get 4 chocolates, and you take each one 4 chocolate, there is no pleasure there. But if the child takes $2 and get 4 chocolates, and by his own free will, which he can eat all four of them, but if by his free will he give to all of you one, then you will feel so much happiness. So there is no question of love if there is no free will. Love becomes sweet when there is free will. You cannot love a machine. You can be attached to a machine, but you cannot love a machine. When a person by their free will expresses love to you, then you become so grateful to them. Thank you for cooking so nicely, because they have a free will not to cook nicely. They have a free will to cook something very simple, but out of their love they cooked so many items, especially those items that you like to eat. Now there is so much joy. So happiness comes only when there is a free will. The Lord has supreme free will, abhigya swarat. He is completely independent. We are minutely independent. We have minute free will, but we can use the minute free will to express our love back to Lord, or to neglect the Lord. Just like a child can express his free will to give a chocolate to the father, or just eat by himself. So likewise, we can be very selfish by just enjoying everything in this material world as I am the enjoyer, or the living entity can do everything that he's getting as my Lord, I offer it to you. um, मानस देहो गेहो जो किच्छु मोर अर पीलो तुआ पदे नंद किशोर मानस देहो गेहो जो किच्छु मोर अर पीलु तुआ पदे नंद किशोर. Nanda Kishore is son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna. Manasa, mind. Deho, body. Geho, family. Mind, body, family, whatever is mine. Manasa, Deho, Geho, Jo Kichu more, whatever is mine. Arpilu, Arpan Karna, to offer. Arpilu Tua Pade, Pade is lotus feet. I offer it to your lotus feet, O Nanda Kishore. Now this is bhakti. Now this gives pleasure to the Lord. If it's a machine, if you have no free will, then the word is completely needless. There is no fun in this word. So the Lord, now if the free will is given, it can be misused. I can reject the Lord and do everything for my pleasure, and that will bring us reaction. That will bring us reaction. So once, now see, that's how Krishna gives encouragement. Like we are discussing Bhagavad Gita, uh, if we are practicing devotional service at home, we'll become very peaceful, we'll become very happy, because we are offering our time, we are discussing Bhagavad Gita, we are offering our intelligence, we are remembering Krishna, we are offering our mind. So we are offering everything to please Krishna. But I can reject all these spiritual activities and go for a movie or restaurant or things that gives pleasure only to me without Krishna in the center. Then uh, in one case we find lot of peace, inner fulfillment, satisfaction. In other case it will give rise to more desires. more desires, and sometimes desires will not be fulfilled, then anger will come, and frustration will come, and depression will come. So those reactions will come. So in this way, Krishna is expressing his pleasure. When Krishna becomes happy with us, we become peaceful with him, we become happy. When Krishna, we will see this in more detail in our next week discussion on peace formula. Okay, continuing, the individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. So we have free will, we can misuse it or we can direct it towards Krishna. And if we direct our free will to Krishna, then the Lord takes special care of us. The Lord is right now, because all of you are showing interest in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is taken individually, personally, special care of all of you. And how he is doing that, I don't know. You all know individually. I just know that Krishna takes care because I have my own experiences. So Krishna is taking care of all of you individually. Krishna will give all of you a internal peace and happiness. Krishna will give you. And as you progress and become more and more sincere, your feeling of satisfaction will grow, and we are all eager and looking for that inner fulfillment, and that's how Krishna is reciprocating with us. Okay, any questions so far? All right, all right. Now, uh, it is said that the living entity, um, um, was we all were in spiritual world. We are all originally part and parcel of Krishna. We all were in spiritual world happily serving him, but at some point of time we misused our free will, and we took a artificial body, which is 8.4 million species, which are material bodies. We gave up our original spiritual identity by misuse of free will, and now we are taking birth in this material world among 8.4 million species. When we still misused our free will, it's a life of material entanglement. The Lord allows us to fulfill our desires, and based on our desires, we get another body. And this cycle of birth and death continues. I may have some desires fulfilled in this life, some desires may be unfulfilled. Based on my unfulfilled desire, the Lord will give me another body in which I can fulfill those desires. Like some living entity are very much attached to sleeping, then the Lord may give them the body of a um, uh, bear, polar bear, who sleeps for 6 months. If I have a desire to eat flesh, then Lord can give me a body of a carnivorous animal, and I can eat flesh whole life, as much flesh as I want. If I want to have a sexual relationship, which is considered the highest form of material pleasure in this world, then Lord can give me a body of a sparrow who has sex 60 times in a day, in an hour, or something like that. So based on my unfulfilled desire, like there is a story in Puranas where one person was very much attached to his business, his shop, and he appeared as a rat in the next birth, um, in the shop, just because his desire was, I want to make sure that the shop is maintained. So his next birth was in that particular shop. So based on desire, Lord give us opportunity to fulfill those desires. When we get another birth, we fulfill our previous life desires, we develop some new desires, and then the Lord sanctions those desires. Karma and akarma and vikarma are keep coming during the life, and the reaction we keep on getting, and the cycle of birth and death continues. But at one point of time, if a living entity correctly use the free will and lives a life centered around self-realization, around Krishna consciousness, then living entity while in this world becomes happy and peaceful, and gets a spiritual birth, attains liberation. He does not have to go through 8.4 million species of cycle of birth and death. So here is a small video.
So when this soul misuses it, then that is material life. Material life means misusing the independence. That's why a son's duty is to obey the father. But he may not obey. That is his madness. So when this soul misusing the independence becomes mad, he is set.
Now, are you able to hear? Can anyone say if you are able to hear?
No, we can't.
Yeah, okay. So we will skip the video. But in essence, Srila Prabhupada is telling that when the soul misuses the independence, misuses the free will, then the soul falls down. Okay. Now, how can we remove our ignorance? Our misuse of our free will is the cause of our entanglement. Um, um, and we misuse our free will because of ignorance. And how can we remove ignorance? By knowledge. So Krishna says, when however one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is ignorance, is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in a day. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, practice devotional service, then we start understanding about spiritual life, and we start coming to knowledge, and then we have a chance to correctly use our free will, and that's how we come out of ignorance, through knowledge. Now, how to gain knowledge? When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So, one second, a lot of sound is coming in the room. Let me close the door. Prabhu, can you close the door? Okay, thank you. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in Supreme, then one comes to knowledge. Now, it may seem like I gain knowledge by reading, but knowledge is not gained simply by reading, knowledge is gained by revelation. There is a difference between Gyan and Vigyan. Gyan is knowledge and Vigyan is realization. Um, um, if I know this particular thing, suppose I heard uh, this particular activity is not good for me, but I may still do that activity because I only have theoretical knowledge and I have not realized it. But if I realize, if it comes from me within myself, if I hear it, this is not good for me, that's just knowledge. But if I am convinced from within my heart, this is not good for me, then that is called realization. So we come to real knowledge through realization. Realization means it's a revelation from within our heart. It's not just reading and hearing. That revelation comes by the mercy of the Lord. That realization comes by the mercy of the Lord. So here it is mentioned that the path of coming to knowledge is by becoming fixed in the Lord, by using our intelligence, our mind, our faith, our shelter in the Supreme Lord. That's how we come to the path of true knowledge. There is another verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayar Ahitukam. Vasudeve Bhagavati. Vasudev is another name for Krishna. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. As one renders Bhakti Yoga or devotional service, Janati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahitukam. So these are called two kits of Bhakti. One is um, knowledge and one is detachment. So real knowledge, the revelation, appears from within our heart um, as we render devotional service, that removes our ignorance, that inspires us to rightly use our free will. And once we use our free will for the right purpose, then the Lord takes special care of us. But when we misidentify ourselves as independent of the Lord, then we work based on our instincts from our previous impressions, and then we engage in sinful activities, and that entangles us in the cycle of birth and death. So that's the way to gain knowledge. And this is the last verse for today, which is the effect of that knowledge. What when we gain real knowledge? The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned, a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So, as we gain real knowledge, then we start seeing every living entity as a spirit soul. When we don't have that knowledge from within, then we see everything as matter, as body, and then our desire will be of that of exploitation or enjoyment. um, Whether it is enjoying a person or enjoying a dog or enjoying a deer or enjoying a cow. But when we gain real knowledge, then we see that everyone is spiritual, and we develop a equal vision. And one very short uh, 2 minute story on this. There was one devotee of Srila Prabhupada. His name was Peter Burnwash. Um, and he was one of the most famous tennis player. Um, um, this is in 1970s, and it was a tournament. So he reached up to the finals. It was an international tennis match. He reached to the finals, and when you are now, he was about to take the service. Somebody was serving him. He had to respond in the tennis game. So you usually stand in the middle so that the ball can come this way or that way, and then the whole court is accessible to you and you can go and respond. So this person, he stood in one corner, and everybody in the audience were bewildered. And the other person, the opponent, he served the ball on this side. He stood there and he lost the match. And later on, the reporters claimed that it seems like some kind of cheating, some kind of match fixing, some kind of thing that this person has done. He got defamed, and he lost the game. And later on, he was talking to some devotees, and devotees asked him, "Why did you do that?" And he was telling that somehow during the tournament on that day, right in the middle, I saw a lot of ants, and if I have to run to the other side, there is no other option but to step on them, and many of them would not survive. And then I was thinking in my heart, what will please my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada if I see that most important thing for me is I should win the tennis game, or what will please my spiritual master is I see that I should not cause pain to others, even to these little ants. So that's an example of equal vision, where he was seeing everybody, and he was seeing that everyone has a right to live. Just because of my desire, they should not lose their life. They have equal right to live just like myself. So this comes as we come to the real knowledge. Okay, so that's all I have for today, and we will see if there is any question. All right, so we will end here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. I will end here. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.